All right, welcome back. It's a new day, a new week, new opportunity to share the message of Christ with anyone, really. And a good question to always ask is, do you have a relationship with God? It's just kind of opens the door and gives opportunity to let them talk, us to listen, and then eventually be able to share the truth. So that's a good one. Also, if you want to share my videos, feel free. Send those off to loved ones you know or friends and acquaintances. If you need access to specific links, you can message me and I'll try to get those to you. But here we go in Numbers chapter 23, verse 1. Then Balaam said to Balak, "Build 7 altars for me here, and prepare 7 bulls and 7 rams for me here." Balak did just as Balaam had spoken, and Balak and Balaam offered up a bull and a ram on each altar. Then Balaam said to Balak, "Stand beside your burnt offering, and I will go. Perhaps the Lord will come to meet me, and whatever he shows me, I will tell you." So he went to a bare hill. Now God met Balaam, and he said to him, "I have set up the 7 altars, and I have offered up a bull and a ram on each altar." Verse 5. Then the Lord put a word in Balaam's mouth and said, "Return to Balak, and you shall speak thus." So he returned to him, and behold, he was standing beside his burnt offering, he and all the leaders of Moab. He took up his discourse and said, "From Aram Balak has brought me, Moab's king from the mountains of the east. Come, curse Jacob for me, and come, denounce Israel. How shall I curse whom God has not cursed? And how can I denounce whom the Lord has not denounced? As I see him from the top of the rocks, and I look at him from the hills, behold, a people who dwells apart, and will not be reckoned among the nations. Who can count the dust of Jacob, or number the 4th part of Israel? Let me die the death of the upright, and let my end be like his." Then Balak said to Balaam, "What have you done to me? I took you to curse my enemies, but behold, you have actually blessed them." He replied, "Must I not be careful to speak what the Lord puts in my mouth?" And there's a part of me for a moment that wants to sympathize for Balaam, although later he goes, and we'll see, I don't want to spoil it, but he kind of throws Israel under the bus. But he reminds me a little bit of Judas Iscariot and the parable Jesus talked about with in Mark chapter 4, where the seed was sown on thorns and wealth was the reason that choked it. That's Balaam right there. And let's carry on. Sorry. Verse 13. Then Balak said to him, "Please come with me to another place from where you may see them, although you will only see the extreme end of them and will not see all of them, and curse them for me from there." Verse 14. So he took him to the field of Zophim, to the top of Pisgah, and built 7 altars, and offered a bull and a ram on each altar. Verse 15. And he said to Balak, "Stand here beside your burnt offering while I myself meet the Lord over there." Then the Lord met Balaam, and put a word in his mouth, and said, "Return to Balak, and thus you shall speak." He came to him, and behold, he was standing beside his burnt offering, and the leaders of Moab with him. And Balak said to him, "What has the Lord spoken?" Then he took up his discourse and said, "Arise, O Balak, and hear. Give ear to me, O son of Zippor. God is not a man that he should lie, nor a son of man that he should repent. Has he said, and will he not do it? Or has he spoken, and will he not make it good?" Okay, let's pause and discuss verse 19 here for a minute. Some will errantly claim that because God is not man or a son of man stated here in chapter 23, that Jesus can't be God. But that goes against everything Jesus claimed regarding himself throughout the entire New Testament. John chapter 4 teaches us that God is spirit, but in the incarnation, Emmanuel came to take upon the sins of the world and was born with a fleshly body. When he died and resurrected, the body was missing. In Luke chapter 24, he told his disciples to touch his flesh and bones after his resurrection. The difference with Jesus' resurrected body is that it was restored and fit for eternity. Our heavenly bodies will differ from our earthly ones as well. The Apostle Paul also states that the believer's body will be an image of Christ's body, stated in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, and the term spiritual body is used. 2 Corinthians chapter 5 states that when the new body is put on, we will go from mortality to immortality. So we know that the Christian will have a heavenly body like Jesus' glorified body, seen in Philippians chapter 3. At his incarnation, Jesus took on human flesh, and at his resurrection, his body was glorified, although he retained the scars. So when people reference Numbers chapter 23, verse 19 here as an attack on the deity of Jesus, they simply didn't read the rest of the story. In fact, they're missing out on the most important event in history and the key to salvation. Verse 20, Behold, I have received a command to bless. When he has blessed, then I cannot revoke it. He has not observed misfortune in Jacob, nor has he seen trouble in Israel. The Lord his God is with him, and the shout of a king is among them. God brings them out of Egypt. He is for them like the horns of the wild ox. For there is no omen against Jacob, nor is there any divination against Israel. At the proper time it shall be said to Jacob and to Israel what God has done. Behold, a people rises like a lioness, and as a lion it lifts itself. It will not lie down until it devours the prey and drinks the blood of the slain. So in other words, don't get in the way of God's plan. Verse 25, Then Balak said to Balaam, Do not curse them at all, nor bless them at all. But Balaam replied to Balak, Did I not tell you, whatever the Lord speaks, that I must do? Then Balak said to Balaam, Please come, I will take you to another place. Perhaps it will be agreeable with God that you curse them for me from there. So Balak took Balaam to the top of Peor, which overlooks the wasteland. Balaam said to Balak, Build 7 altars for me here, and prepare 7 bulls and 7 rams for me here. Balak did just as Balaam had said, and offered up a bull and a ram on each altar. All right, stay tuned. We're going to find out what happens to Balaam. So hope you can join me. God bless. Take care.